Because I know a lot of rappers, like I have conversations with them behind the scenes and they're saying exactly that. Like, yo bro, I'm getting older, like I don't really align with even the shit that I was saying anymore. So like now I'm at a space where like, how do I, if I'm coming back out musically, how do I come out? Like if I was talking all this street shit before and now I'm talking all this positive shit, people are gonna be like, what the fuck is this?
When you just living in this cycle of being negative all day and just putting out negativity and that's the only energy you putting out, it's gonna return to you in different form than you put it out in. So I would just say, master your energy.
We do wholesale printing, podcasting, events, photography studio, we got hair salons. How can I turn these things that I'm passionate about into like a facility that I can guide people based on like my advice going through the ins and outs of like podcasting or manufacturing or events.
So to have a profit and a non-profit together, how does that work? How does that process work?
It's actually something the Canadian government is pushing people to do right now.
Really?
Instead of offering them a job, why not offer them equity in a company so they're going to take it as serious as I take it? If I'm telling someone to come do it by the hour, what's the motivation to like go crazy? What's the motivation to like put your blood, sweat, and tears? There's not growing my business. You're never going to feel the same way I feel. If I'm dealing with space, if I see like, all right, I have 1,000 square feet that's bringing in X amount of dollars a month because I'm watching with the money, right? And then I have 2 500 square foot rooms who are bringing in double that. Why not turn that 1,000 foot square face to another 500 square foot spaces that are making that same income? My name's Rich. I guess you can label me an entrepreneur, owner of Gallery 223, which is a multidisciplinary space located in Mississauga. We do wholesale printing, podcasting, events, photography studio, we got hair salons.
Jeez.
We do a lot.
Hey, first of all, I want to say thank you for this. It was a conversation long time coming.
Facts.
And it's been about a year, but I wanted to give you your flowers before we actually get into this conversation. And there's a couple things that I've noticed from either dealing with you or watching from afar. And I want to say a couple things because I do think these things are important. One, the first thing that comes to my mind is integrity. And I'll tell you why. So I don't know if you remember like when we did the hats, right?
Yeah.
And there was a mishap that happened with the orders of the hats. And the first thing you said, bro, don't worry about it. I'll cover the cost for it. And I'll take care of it. I think that was very integral. And I know a lot of business owners wouldn't do something like that, right? Just to like cover that cost. So I want to say thank you for that because I think that's big when it comes to business. A second thing that I've noticed from watching you afar is I know that you're involved with a lot of the rappers in the city or the community. And although there's podcasts here and those podcasts hosts are like great, but there's something that I noticed that maybe you haven't thought about is that when they come in this space that from afar, I could tell their guards are down and so they feel safe. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's something like I'm cognitive about. I think it might be a couple things. Like usually there's some kind of connection outside of like just business.
Fair.
Sometimes with these rappers, some of them I dealt with when I had my clothing line. I had a clothing line called Cash Feelings. So we had like a relationship already. And then I think it's the way that like, so I think, it's mutual respect is like the first factor. Because if you're walking into a room and you don't know if you necessarily respect somebody or you're not respecting the way you move, it's going to dictate the way the conversation goes, right?
Fair.
So I think like there's some level of like mutual respect, relatability. And like my goal is not mix up.
Fair.
So I think when like rappers are there and they're walking into an interview and they're like, all right, at some point this guy's gonna ask me fuckery because it's gonna be good for his clips. That's gonna put up a guard because it's like, I know what your intentions are at the end of the day. And I think people learned that with me. My goal was to humanize these people. That was always like my intention with doing it. It's like, how can I, cause I know these guys. They're normal people like me and you. But if you watch a music video, you might think like otherwise because of like the way they're making it look. But end of the day, they're just human beings, right? So I wanted to like, the way that I set up like the questioning and the pace of the conversation was like, the goal was to like, at the end, I always wanted to see in the comment section, which I saw a lot, was like, yo, they showed a different side of this person, or like, yo, this guy seems like a cool guy. Like, so those are the conversations that I wanted to have. And for me, the value from that was the energy. Like it shifted the energy from like, someone could have seen this person in a light and had intentions with them, watch the interview and be like, maybe this guy's like, maybe I shouldn't approach him that way or judge him that way. or maybe someone who thought that this guy was like into some things that he was not into at all, and he verbalized that, and now that energy has gone from being a target or for being someone who's on someone's hit list to that guy's not even on it like that. All right, cool. So now that shifts the whole energy like that. That was my goal. So I think the conversations were different because my intention was different.
Fair. Okay, so you have Gallery 223.
Yeah.
But before we get into what's going on here, I want to know your background story. Sure. So let's just take it back, because I know you used to rap, or you still do. You still drop some hard bars.
I dabble. Yeah.
So like, let's talk about like the after high school, college era to like right now.
Sure. So after high school, I was living in London, Ontario. I moved from London, Ontario to go to York.
You went to York?
Yeah.
4 years?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, one of my best friends, David Tyndale, he played on the ball team.
Yeah, no, I wasn't even in that scene at all.
Okay, fair.
But I went to York for sociology. And during those times, like even in high school, I was rapping. So throughout my whole like university, I guess, time, I was doing music consistently. I had like one song that did like really well, like about my hometown, a song called London Town. I kind of showed like the different areas of London, so people never kind of saw that side of it before, so it did well. I got to travel a little bit, do some shows in Europe. So that was kind of like my music experience, but it was more of a passion thing, and I quickly learned that it wasn't something I wanted to pursue as like a career choice.
Fair.
Like even just the lifestyle of like, if I was going to take this seriously and put my all into it, do I want to be on the road? Do I want to be late nights? Like, no, like I was like more going towards like that slower pace family lifestyle. So kind of put music on the back burner and focus on other things.
Okay. So I've had a couple ex-hoopers on the podcast, and I always ask them the transition that they have to make when it comes to being a basketball player, than either being to being a family person or a businessman. So I've never actually thought about it when it comes to music.
Yeah.
How hard is that transition? And for the people that are still rapping today, what advice would you give them about that?
I wouldn't necessarily say for me it was a hard transition. It was more like a natural transition.
Fair.
So like I was doing it, I was in it, super involved with it, but I always like had other sources of income. So I was never like 100% just rap. Most people in Canada are not doing that, for being realistic. So me, it just kind of slowly got pushed back, and I was always doing like business related things, or I always had a job or something. So I kind of just took that time away from like pursuing music as a career and focused it into like opening businesses and like focusing on career moves.
Yeah.
So the transition wasn't like a hard, like stop rapping, what am I going to do transition, because I always was doing other things the whole time. So for me, I wouldn't say it was hard. It was just more like coming to grips with like the realization is like, yeah, I don't really want to do this as a job. It's just something that I feel like I'm good at doing, and it's kind of like therapeutic for me. So I'm just going to do it whenever I feel like it.
What advice would you give for the ones that are actually on the scene right now to like eventually make that transition, and honestly make that transition safely?
Like for people who like are on the scene but might like be thinking about transitioning out of music?
Out of music and into other things where they can like now expand their money or expand their portfolio. Maybe even think about like a family life. They're at that stage, but obviously thinking about the music and maybe the frequency that the music comes from, that might be a difficult thought. Yeah.
And I think it's a good question, because I know a lot of rappers, like I have conversations with them behind the scenes, and they're saying exactly that. Like, yo, bro, I'm getting older. Like I don't really align with even the shit that I was saying anymore. So like now I'm at a space where like, if I'm coming back out musically, how do I come out? Like if I was talking all this street shit before, and now I'm talking all this positive shit, people are gonna be like, what the fuck is this? Like it's hard to be received because you already put that energy out there. So like it's a big transition to try to like shift your mindset and grow with your music. It's a hard task. My best advice, and I was having a conversation with a rapper the other day, was like, energy is real, right? So even though you know like that maybe some like low frequency type content is gonna go further, what comes with that, and like at what cost?
At what cost?
Right. So like, what's it worth? Like getting maybe 100,000 views, but like you're putting out this energy that you know is negative that comes with repercussions, and is it worth it? And if it doesn't align with you, don't do it. Like, cause even if it was like a high monetary value, which there really isn't, if we're being real about it, I think the cost, like the risk and like the con far outweigh any kind of pro. So like, if you're already kind of having that contemplation where you're thinking like, this doesn't really align, is it worth it? Then just stop, because it's not. Like, figure out something else you're passionate about, or come out and say, listen, I'm completely grown from that, and
just be honest with your,
and be honest with your fan base. And if they fuck with you, they fuck with you. They don't, then they don't, and you move and you pivot accordingly.
Fair.
Yeah.
So then after university, you had your clothing line, right? And you dabbled in different things. And then what year did Gallery 223 come out?
So 2018, we had Cash Feelings.
That's the clothing line.
That was our clothing line. So the marketing strategy we used for that was the same time that like Toronto street rap was like at its highest. There were so many like young kids that were just going viral, doing crazy numbers on YouTube. There was like a whole scene, right? So I was telling my business partner at the time, like, we were just trying to get off the ground. I'm like, yo, we need to align with these kids, because they're actually what's dictating what's cool right now. And there's a culture that's watching them like a hawk, like people that are invested in these kids' lives and like watching their videos. So I just started to like reach out to these young rappers and be like, yo, this is the drip we have. Like, if you fuck with it, I'll pull up on you. Like, you know, give you a pack and some pics. And some of them were like, yo, this is hard. Yeah, pull up. So I was going to people's studios, video shoots. Like, I got known for being that guy that'll just come to your area, pull up with the pack. And then like, once I got all the top guys who are at the highest level doing it, it was way easier to get the people who were like any lower than them. They were just with it because they kept seeing it in their videos. So kind of became like associated with like whoever's popping, like Cash Feelings is going to hit you for the pack, and you're going to have a Cash Feelings thing in your video, similar to like, who could I say? Maybe like someone like Slowbucks was doing it in New York.
Oh yeah,
where they were associated with all the rappers. It was kind of that same business model where it became like cool. It kind of aligned with what was cool. So that let that brand take off in 2018, 2019, and then in 2020 is when the idea for Gallery came together. And it was really like inspired by a couple of things. When we were making clothes, we realized that there was no space that we could go to locally that would like, that created a culture for us to build. So like we couldn't go into a guy's manufacturing facility and sit down, talk with him about our ideas and what we're trying to build, and
get some knowledgeable advice.
Get some knowledge. What do you think about this printing versus that? There was nowhere. We would like, everyone we approached who was doing wholesale printing was just like, either wouldn't answer the phone, or we'd email them and they'll just say like, yeah, email your designs. That's it. Can we come in? No, you cannot come in. Like, you can't even open the door to these places. You drop your box off, they say thank you, they close the door, and they call you if they're even respectable enough to call you when it's ready. Most times you have to call them, hey man, what's going on? So like I saw that there was like a void between like creatives and a space to create. So that kind of just got my mind thinking about this space and all the individual. If you really break it down, all the different like services we offer were all things I was passionate about. So clothing, music, arts, podcasting is all things that I had passions about. So
now you can make a service out of them.
Yeah. So like my mind was like, all right, how can I turn these things that I'm passionate about into like a facility that I can guide people based on like my advice, going through the ins and outs of like podcasting or manufacturing or events, any of the different disciplines. And then how can I offer that to people for free? So that's why we run Gallery 223 now as a social enterprise. So we have a for-profit. Okay. Yeah. So a social enterprise meaning that we have a for-profit. So we offer all these services for profit, and we take proceeds from that, from all the different services, and we offer these services for free for Black youth.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how the space runs. So I wanted to kind of figure out a way where I could, of course, make money and run a business, but then how can I give back the game and the knowledge for free and like impact community?
And how does that work when it comes to like paperwork, like you
Yep.
know, obviously the government wants to know everything that we do.
For
So
sure.
to have a profit and a non-profit together, how does that work? How does that
So
process work?
it's actually something the Canadian government is pushing people to do right now.
Really?
Yeah, like if you go on the Canadian government like website, it will tell you about social enterprises and the benefits and how we need more of them, right? So essentially, you have a for-profit arm of your business, a non-for-profit arm of your business. So like I have a corporation that's Gallery 223, and I'll have my non-profit, which is called Lead to Change, and they work in tandem essentially. And the Canadian government is supportive of that because what the goal of a social enterprise is what is your business doing to directly impact the community it serves? And if you can show that, hey, I'm making money in these facilities, but I'm actually affecting the economy and giving back to the economy by offering these services. Most people do that at discounted rate. We do it for free. And now those people can go open their own businesses and make money. The government is advocating for this because it equals more money for the economy.
Okay.
Right. So you're helping like people who might not have access to the equipment or their services. You're solving that problem. And then you're taking at-risk youth, giving them a space where they can have a safe space to create community, network. You're solving that problem.
So
And
sorry,
then-
not to cut you off.
Yeah.
Is the government banking on like the youth obtaining obtainable skills, and that's
Exactly.
where they get paid?
Exactly. So
in the end?
the same way how the Canadian government will offer grants
Yes.
to kind of break down barriers for people who are in the creative arts, it's the same kind of concept. Like, all right, we're gonna like highlight and work with people who are doing this social enterprise model, because if you're investing your money into the community and the arts, that's what the Canadian government banks on, because they know like how much money the arts generates.
Okay.
And that's why they invest in it.
Okay, so as far as grants and stuff like that,
Yeah.
where to look, like for let's say I'm starting my own what's the word that you use?
So yeah, it's kind of confusing, but the way I describe it is like a multidisciplinary space.
Yes.
So there's different creative disciplines that all exist under one roof.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say, so obviously someone's going to be watching this podcast and be like, you know what, I want to start something like that.
For sure.
Like, what are the first steps to get this off the ground?
So for me, the first step was like, once you have the idea and the way you think it can run, you got to get a space.
Yeah. And
Right.
how difficult is that?
Getting a commercial space is difficult. It's not impossible, but like to find a space that works for you, that's within your budget, and to find a landlord who's willing to like let you operate this like unconventional type of space was a little bit difficult.
Was it hard for them to like understand exactly what's going on? Because
Yeah,
me and you
because-
can understand, but for them
For
might be a little bit different.
It was because there wasn't necessarily places that exist like this, especially like in a Mississauga.
Yeah, fair.
Like I don't know, like before me, I didn't know of another space that had the same business model. Especially for these older landlords, they didn't really get it. I think that helped me is like that my credit was like intact. Like we had like I had a trail of like doing good business. Like my banking was fine. I had no credit issues. But there's always ways around that. So finding a space is not the most difficult thing. I think just like the most difficult thing might be committing to like a commercial lease, because most commercial leases, if you're not doing year to year, are like 3 to 5 years commitment.
So that's something that you got to really think about if you really want to do, because you got to, I'm guessing like even after grants and stuff like that, you got to run this place off your own merit.
Yeah. And they don't care if your business is slow or whatever, like you got to pay that rent every month.
Yeah.
And you got to pay your staff, and you got to pay all your utilities and your hydro and your waste disposal. There's so much like cost that comes with it. But honestly, I think it's bringing me to a point that the people who are going to do this, who are going to succeed at this, aren't even thinking like that. Like I wasn't thinking like, what if it fails? I'm just like, yo, let me try something. If it fails, it fails. I'm back to exactly where I am right now.
Fair.
That was my mindset. So it's like, I kind of always had that, like, I think all like successful entrepreneurs have this, like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I think it's going to work. Do it.
Yeah, I'm like that too, bro.
Right. And then if it fails, all right,
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. How can we pivot? Is this the right idea? Can I build on this existing idea and make it work? Or should I just scrap this and move on to a different idea?
Okay.
And I think going through that process is the only way
To learn.
to know if it works or not. So overthinking is what stops most people that have good ideas, because they think about all the things that could go wrong. But like I feel like a true entrepreneur, you're not even thinking that way, to be honest. Like the ones that I know and respect, they don't even have that mindset.
I agree. Okay, so you have your idea, right? Then you have to start to look for the commercial space.
Correct.
And then is there a business plan, or is there, how do you get it? Like, where does the government kind of come in this process?
So for me, I kind of did things backwards, maybe unconventional. I never had a business plan.
Okay.
Right. So I had an idea. This is what I think can work, and kind of just went. And speaking to more and more entrepreneurs, a lot of people did do it that way. Just kind of like, I'm not gonna waste time trying to like get all the metrics. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it. Having a business plan, if you have it, is great. If you look at all your like stats and competitive analysis, all that kind of stuff, it's great. But I never had one. So for me, I started to apply for grants that were related to the arts.
Government site?
Yeah. So like I literally just Googled like Canadian grants for Black businesses, grants for the creative arts in Ontario. Just like doing like literally basic Google searches to see what were available for me, because I'm a Black business owner, because I'm promoting the arts, because I have a nonprofit. So I found grants on the for-profit side. I found grants on the nonprofit side, and just started applying for them myself. So I would say like if I was someone who's trying to figure out grants, literally just use Google. What do you do if you're a Black creative who owns a business? Black grants for business owners, Black grants for creatives in Ontario, in Canada, and see what pops up. And if you meet the requirements and the eligibilities, just figure it out.
Go for it. Okay, cool. So then you have the grants. You get, let's say now you're at the approval process, because they're gonna check all your history, your bank history, where you work, this, that, the third.
Yep.
When does like thinking about, okay, you know what, I'm gonna have these different ideas for these different rooms in this type of space?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of crazy. I kind of skipped a step. So I had always been doing like community work. So like I was working at shelters for a long time.
Wow.
Homeless shelters, working with youth and working with women. And I was doing like different events in the area I came from. It's kind of always just something I naturally did, like working at the YMCA, a bunch of different things. And one idea I had, and this was 2013. I had an idea, this exact same idea actually, pretty much, but I called it at that time. It was called
in 2013.
Yeah. So I did like a spot version of this, a one-day version of this, where we had barbers, we had people doing arts, we had hip hop artists, like almost exactly what we're doing here, but we were doing it at Tim Hortons camps. So I kind of approached Tim Hortons camps like, yo, this is an idea I have. I didn't know if it would work. I kind of approached them like, I've been doing this. Like, this is the services we offer.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it for you guys at no charge. And here's how it works. And they were like, yeah, come do it. So I did it, and it was successful, and the kids really enjoyed it. So they would rotate. There would be like 10 kids learning how to cut hair, and I made every person that came there teach them a skill set in like that hour they had, but then spend like 20 minutes to explain what you're doing now. How do I turn this into a business?
Wow, that's amazing.
Right. Bro. So show them how to do a haircut, and then be like, all right, here's how I open my shop. I want them to explain it like A, B, C, D.
Very practical.
That's how I did it. And then this person's a hip hop artist. All right, teach them the fundamentals of rap, do some activities, but then say, here's how I monetize these skills. And at the end. So that was kind of the birth of thinking like, yo, I did this one day workshop with like 100 kids.
Yeah.
It was really successful. The kids loved it. They asked us to come back to all these events and do it. And for me, the reason I did it for free was you had to give the kids value, but to see like, does this work?
It's like social proof.
Yeah, like social proof, or like proof to myself.
Fair.
Is this even a concept that makes sense? And it worked. And so when I had the idea for the space, I'm like, I know the concept works. People fuck with it on like a not-for-profit level. But will it work as a business? That was the question, and it's working so far. Yeah.
So I think you mentioned something very, very important, is the social proof and proving it to yourself.
Yeah.
And I do find a lot of people, when they're starting to get in business, they're so eager to get paid right away. And like, for example, like I've been doing videography for a while now. And I remember when I first started, I was doing a bunch of free videos, bro. Like to see, one, to perfect my skills, one, to see in the different realms of videography, if I was going to even like certain things like weddings, music videos. And then I realized those are not for me.
You, yeah.
So how important is to start off like doing some free stuff?
I think it's the only real way. And like all the things you said is valuable. And it's also like, how are you going to get a portfolio?
Exactly.
How are you going to show people what you can do if you're just asking for money? You can't be money hungry off the rip. And I feel like that's a disconnect that a lot of people have nowadays. They want to get paid like right away. Like, I'm not doing nothing for free. I'm not about that. But like, you have to prove yourself to like people that you're going to work with. Even to this day, like if I get a large client that hits me up, like a huge like multinational company, yeah, I'll offer them some free shit for sure.
Yeah.
Like just to prove myself. They might hit me up saying, hey, I'm inquiring about your services. And I might say, listen, like send me your thing. Make whatever they wanted before any payments involved. Here's what we did. Here's what we can do. Here's how we work. And they're like, oh,
wow.
Like, yeah, like
and that made them feel comfortable.
It separates you right away. They know this guy's not playing around. He's not just like incredibly money hungry. He can get the job done efficiently. I'd rather just show and prove. And then the more you do that, the more you show people that like what your worth is, even before asking for payment sometimes, especially when you're just starting off, is how you're going to grow. Because people like understand the hunger that you have. They can see the quality, the level of work that you do based on those whatever free thing you're offering. And it's just a way to get your foot in the door.
100%.
How do you dictate your value without proving your value?
Yeah, that's big. So okay, so we're at the process where like you got got the place, right? I think another big thing, especially being a business owner, is now employee situation.
Yep.
Are you are you looking for close friends first, or are you kind of like just offering job offerings on like Indeed or something like that?
Nah, like to be honest, the same person who I had cash feelings with is my same business partner now.
Amazing.
Yeah, so he's my friend. Like we're really close, but he's also someone who I know is like reliable. And we kind of know each other's personalities. Like, yo, I'm good at this and you're good at that. And we know exactly what each of their strengths and weaknesses. So I'm like, this is someone who I know that like trusts my vision. And is like someone who I know is reliable and that can support and add value. So that's who I brought in. And then from there, we just brought in people who did the things that we can't do, who operate on a high level and already do it. Who we had experience with, like the person who is now, I gave him ownership in the company as well, was someone who used to print the cash billing stuff for us. He was just a reliable printer, good personality.
He does a screen print.
He does screen printing.
Yeah.
He does all of our printing.
Yeah, he like from watching from afar, you could tell he works hard.
He works extremely hard and he's passionate. Like he'll come in and get the job done no matter what. And I had that experience with him on the other side. So I'm like, yo, why not offer this person, instead of offering them a job, why not offer them equity in a company so they're going to take it as serious as I take it?
That's big.
Because otherwise they're just going to, if I'm telling someone to come do it by the hour, what's the motivation to like go crazy? What's the motivation to like put your blood, sweat, and tears? There's none. You're growing my business. Fair. You're never going to feel the same way I feel. If I give you ownership, you're going to want to grow this company, because as the company grows, you grow. And your business grows, right?
And now they have a legacy part to think of. Like when they have their family, they're a part of something, they own something, their piece, they can actually pass that on. Yeah,
and we all have kids, right? And all of our kids are cool. All of our kids play together. All of our kids come here while we work. So yeah, we're all focused on like legacy, passing this down to like the next generation of our next generation. All the small kids, they're all relatively the same age.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all focused on like growing a business together, supporting each other in like the spaces where we all lack. And then, yeah, having something to leave for our kids.
Honestly, I think that's super important, and that's one piece that you've just taught me is like, you know, like if you believe in somebody and you're close with them and you've seen how they work and you've seen what type of work ethic they already have, why not offer them some equity? Because that in turn they'll take it just as passionately as you do, because now it's their business as well.
Yeah, and if not, they're gonna end up resenting you. And it's just the reality of it. And a lot of people told me it was a bad decision. Like when I was like, yeah, I'm bringing him in, I'm making him an owner. They're like, what? Like, you're going to give up ownership of your company, bro? Just pay them by the hour?
Yeah,
like,
that's the advice that I've gotten.
Yeah, and I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that, because I understand that, especially me, like I'm not doing the physical labor here. Like I'm not making the shirts. I'm not doing any kind of like manual or hard general like labor. So it even like looks away when like, even though I'm doing the most behind the scenes on my phone and calls or whatever, if someone's just here like sweating away working and they're thinking, this guy is at his house right now. What the fuck? It's a mentality thing, right? There's, even though I might be going at my house doing the most, but it's like, I'm here, I have no ownership that's here by the hour. Like, fuck this shit. It's what and eventually it will happen because that's human nature, right? So
That's big, bro. You
that's
just
the way
opened
my
up
mind works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
that's the way
dope.
my mind works. People are gonna end up resenting you. They're gonna end up being like, yo, fuck this. I'm gonna do the bare minimum because it's not my shit.
Okay, fair. So even working with close friends and family,
Yeah.
How do you handle conflict that arises when it comes to like, okay, let's say someone's just like, those uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
How do those work?
Yo, they happen. Fortunately with my team, they don't happen a lot. But one thing I've learned is that you can't necessarily force someone to be as passionate as you.
Yeah, that's what I've learned too.
So you can just communicate. You're like, yo, this is what needs to get done. Like if we want to grow as a unit, and just communicate as effectively as you can. And either they're gonna receive it or they're not. But you can't, like, either way, like the show has to go on.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't let it. I try not to stress it when I get in those situations because it's just like, yo, I know that I'm operating just the way I'm going to operate, and not everyone's going to operate exactly like me, and sometimes that's hard, especially if you feel like this should have been done, or I would have done this, or I would have done it faster or better, or whatever you're thinking in your head. You got to have those tough conversations though. Like we have really, really real conversations with me, and like it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Owners will have it with me, I have it with owners, and we're all kind of open to that dialogue, and we'll try to do like.
And you guys realize it's nothing personal. You're only speaking on the behalf of the business.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, and we'll try to have like quarterly like dinners where we sit down and like discuss like, yo, what can we be doing better? What can we be doing better? What can we be doing more efficiently? Like you guys let me know on my end operationally, what do you guys need from me to do more? I'm gonna let you know what I think can improve on your end. And we have these open conversations, and those are really useful for sure.
Okay. Another thing I want to know is when you give equity, right?
Yep.
How does then pay structures work after? Like, is it like a salary? Is it every 2 weeks? Like, how does that work after the equity is all sorted out?
Yeah. So honestly, bro, for us, we're blessed because most businesses at this point, they're not paying themselves out at all.
Okay.
Not for the first like 3 to 5 years, we started paying we're doing well enough where we could pay ourselves right away and still have like enough money to cover all of our expenses. So we just have ourselves all on like a flat rate.
Okay.
So we all get like a same exact flat rate.
Like that every two, like a salary kind of thing, I guess?
Kind of like a salary job, you could say. We agreed on like an amount that we're all comfortable with to pay ourselves out. And if we have a really good month, maybe, you get a little
Some
bonus
extras.
or whatever. But we try to dump the bulk of it back into the business to grow. So that's kind of how our structure works.
Okay, dope. So, obviously you guys are built on principle.
For sure.
And that's something I've noticed from afar that you're big on, just the way you carry yourself, the way you speak. Where does that come from?
Where does it come from? I don't know if there's an exact
Parents, father,
answer.
mom.
Like, my dad's an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, she was a banker. She worked at the bank as like a financial advisor. They're both retired now. But I wouldn't say like they're both principled people for sure. And like there was definitely like morals instilled in me. But I think it's more just like a personality thing.
Fair.
I think like, in a way, like,
because I got that from day one.
I think it's because I kind of consider myself like an empath. Mm-hmm. So like I'm always, whenever I'm talking to someone, I'm like thinking about
how they're feeling,
and like if I don't do this, how will that make them feel? Or if like even when other people are talking to people, I sometimes like, because like I know like what you just said was like made them feel away, but you didn't, like people would be like, what? I'm like, bro, did you hear what you said?
Yeah.
And you're like, what? I'm like, bro, like you just basically like implied that they're broke, or you implied they're fat. I wasn't even thinking like that. But my brain is just always just thinking
like
about
too, bro.
how you're making other people feel, right? Which is good and bad because you overthink sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's where like morality and principle stands, because I always want people to like, I always try to do what I think is like just, and even if it means losing money, like I can't sleep at night knowing that like I got over on somebody.
Fair.
Or like someone left me feeling uncomfortable with like how I handled them.
Fair.
So like I try my best to approach every situation to like, from a business standpoint, I want every customer to leave happy, regardless if I make money or lose money. I want them to leave happy because that goes a long way when it comes to like word of mouth and your reputation. And I think just from a human standpoint, I don't want to be like, I want to be viewed as a good person. like I want them to be like, yeah, Rich is a good nigga. Like, yeah, if someone says like, yo, I was thinking about dealing with Rich, I want that next thing to be like, yeah, he's solid.
Yeah, because
he's
even
a
me,
good
like
guy.
even with the hat situation, like there's a couple people that have, hey, do you know that someone that could do big orders for hoodies or whatever? And you're the first person that I text you that whether they message or not, but like you're the first person that I think of because of the principle that you had. Like that's what I get from you, and I feel like principles are a type of thing that can work in any arena, whether you're in business, family, any type of situation. And I knew that you had it immediately, so that's why I
appreciate that.
I was asking about principle, because I think it's very important and very key to have a successful, integral business.
Yeah, and I think so too. And I think that some people have like the opposite viewpoint where it's like you got to be a fucking cutthroat shark, like make the most money no matter what. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's the only way to get like successful, you know? Like I think you can have integrity, and it works on both ends, to be honest. Like if there's a client who's just being a piece of shit person, like I've told clients, like I've had an experience where this person like had like this reputation. They were like a well-known business person, so people are used to kissing their ass.
I don't fuck with that, bro.
But like I stand on my morals and principles both ways. So like if you're like being a piece of shit, I'll tell you, yo, bro, fuck you, fuck your money. Like nobody, my own mom can't talk to me. My own parents can't talk to me. So what makes you think you can speak to me like that? Like, bro, they'll be shocked. I'll be like, yo, fuck, because there'll be like big orders. Like, it could be thousands and thousands of dollars in the line, and I'll be like, fuck you, fuck your money, have a great day. Because like we don't align. Like I can't tolerate that level of disrespect, especially if I'm not giving you that energy. If I'm doing everything to go above and beyond, and it's met with this like hostility or this like fucking egotistical shit.
Ungrateful.
Yeah, bro. It's like, yo, we don't have to work.
Yeah.
And people are shocked by that, because it's like, I'd rather like give you back all your money and be like, it's okay, man, have a great day, you know?
Fair.
Because if we don't align and like from like a morality and principle standpoint, like, yeah, we don't have to all be like super synced and on the same exact frequency. But if you're just being a piece of fucking shit, like I don't have time for that. No amount of money is worth that. And like you're fucking up the energy of like everything that's like going on in my business. I'd rather take that energy away from me and double down on like customers who like can actually add value, who I can work with on a long-term basis, because clearly this is not going to work. So it's very rare that it happened, probably like 1 or 2 times where I've had to say like, I'm not going to work with you.
Fair. So, okay. So you have different disciplinaries in the spot. Are each of them profitable disciplinaries? And how can we just name them one more time? Because I want to ask like how each of them work. For
sure. So yeah, they're all profitable. Definitely. So the wholesale printing, so that's like making clothes for companies, streetwear brands, businesses. That's our like largest, biggest profit margin for sure. That's where we make the most money. So then we have the room we're in right now is a multi-purpose space. So it's a photo studio, it's an event space, it becomes a podcast studio. It can be whatever you want. So this room is profitable. And the best part about this room is it operates on its own, right? So I don't have to be here.
Fair.
So we have a lockbox. We have a system set up where people book the space by the hour for whatever they want. There's different price points for whatever service you're going to use. And then once we approve it, keys in the lockbox, just like an Airbnb.
Yeah.
You come in, you do your thing, you lock up, you leave.
And how are you finding clients for the event space?
Just through like third-party apps. So there's like hourly apps like Peerspace, where people go to find like spaces that rent by the hour. And then honestly, it's because of like our customer service that we've grown.
Word of mouth.
Yeah, because like we have like 5-star rating on there. We have like maybe like 70 plus reviews that are all just speaking to their customer experience. And so when people are going to look, just like when they're going to go book an Airbnb, first thing you do is go to the reviews and like, all right, is this host blessed? Is the space actually blessed? And if you can see 70 reviews all saying, yo, this is the perfect fucking space. Oh my God, it was great. I had a great experience dealing with the host. Then it grows. It's been growing organically because people trust it. Fair. And we're priced at a point that's really fair because it's not our only source of income. So other event spaces are priced high because they need to pay their bills based off the event space. This is just kind of like a subsidized or subsidiary of all the other things that we have. True.
So you can do, you said podcast in here. You could do like baby showers and stuff like that.
We've done. We just did like a wake the other day for somebody.
What's a wake? Sorry.
After a funeral.
Okay. Yeah. A wake.
Yeah. So we did wakes. We've done pop-up shops. We've done mixers, like business mixers, like anything, birthday parties,
Yeah.
proposals. Someone did like a proposal, whatever thing here, like any kind of small event you could think of. So there's that.
Do you have to have a liquor license if they're?
Yeah, so they have to get what's called SOP, like a special.
They do or you do?
The client does.
Okay.
So they have to get a special occasion permit.
Yeah.
So they're not selling, can't sell liquor here, but they can serve liquor here if they have a liquor license. And then through the app we use, it also gives us like third-party insurance if anything goes wrong.
Okay.
So that's that arm. And then we also rent out 2 rooms that serve as like hair salons.
Genius.
So that's not, we're not running that business. They're running their own business on that end of things, and they just pay us monthly to operate out of the space. And then we do also have recording equipment. We had a full recording studio, but now we have recording equipment, so you can still record in here, produce by the hour if you need to. Yeah.
Okay, dope. So then I kind of want to, even though we talked about it a little bit earlier, because that was the profit, and then the non-profit.
Yep.
So the government will supply you for your program,
Yep.
right? And that will cover certain expenses. Is that certain expense just for the program or for the year of you doing different things?
So it depends. So like, for example, you can apply, like we've got grants that will be like maybe $5,000 for programming. So we'll say, yo, we're going to have 20 kids for the next 3 months. Here's exactly what we're going to teach them. Here's exactly what they're going to leave here with. Here's our cost. Let's say it might cost us $7,000 or $8,000 to run.
Yeah.
So we're asking for $5,000 to help us with those costs.
Okay.
And then we can take the cost from our business and we'll pay the rest.
Okay.
And
what are you factoring in those costs? Like, is it the rent for the total space?
So just like what's it going to take, like paying, I got to pay people, right?
Yes.
So we got to pay people to run the programs, to develop the program. We got to pay for the cost. If I'm teaching kids how to make shirts, I got to buy the shirts. I got to buy the ink. There's just costs that food, when they're here, they got to eat. They got to get water. We got to buy pizzas. We got to buy materials. So whatever the costs, like we break down the costs, right? We're paying someone X amount of dollars an hour to teach these kids this. Here's what's going to cost to run it. And here's what we're going to put up out of our pocket. And then if a private lender will step in and help us, that's great. We've had private companies that be like, yo, like I mess with that. We'll sponsor.
How do those conversations start? Because that's big.
It's through our network, right? So I've like, for example, we had a company that I've been trying to do this with actually before. So the same like spot workshops we were doing, they saw that we were doing that. And I had the idea, I reached out like, yo, this is the kind of idea I have, opening a space. Like, would you be down to like help for programming costs? And they were like, yeah, if you can like figure it out and get to the space where you have a space. And then when he saw I did, he's like, yo, you actually did like what you said you were going to do. I'm like, yeah. And so we had like multiple meetings and I had to break it down dollar for dollar where exactly the money is going to go, how it's going to be used, how it's going to impact the community, how it's going to like, how your business is going to in turn impact the community. So we got a funder for our first year to cover all programming costs.
Wow. So
they were a sponsor. So it was like that year, the programming like was Lead to Change, powered by a company called Northern, who was a tech company, who stepped up and let us pay for like all the materials, all the programming. And then they even connected us with like Shopify, who they had to deal with, who taught each person how to open up their own store and cover that cost. So they
all the kids,
they got to set up their own online shop. They had them go through like a whole like syllabus with Shopify, like staff from Shopify teaching them for free. So there was those kind of partnerships. And then there's government grants where it's the same thing. You explain what the money is for. How am I going to do this? And then if you have a track record, like now we have a track record to show like we have video, photo. We have kids that left here that open their own print shops, right? We have like proof of concept, like this works.
Yeah. And
we're not like, there's a lot of people who apply for grants and funding that they can never even show you a picture of a program they did.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many people I know that get funding. I think, but what do you do with this money?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't see it. Like where does it go?
Fair.
Where are the kids? Who are the kids that you affected with the money, right? Where we can show, like we make sure we recap every time these kids are in here doing their programming. Here's like the end result. Here are the benefits that actually came from this program, and we're actually doing the shit that we're saying we're gonna do.
Yeah. So at this point of running Gallery 223, how much hours are you putting in right now? Because I know, okay, I'm gonna go to the next question after, but yeah, how many hours are you putting in right now?
Bro, it's literally like at least 12 hours a day.
And
for sure, at least 12 hours a day, because my business, like, my part of the business is operations.
okay.
So I'm dealing with everything. I'm dealing with all clientele. I'm dealing with emails, invoices, dealing with accountants, bookkeepers, marketing, social media, overseeing the orders, creating the work orders. And like, that's a business, right? So my phone can ring at any time.
Yeah, even just us setting up there, you got like 4 calls.
Yeah, so like I'm constantly getting calls, which means I constantly have to, like, once I get a call, someone's inquiring about something, I got to walk them through that. They send me an email, right, of what they want to do. I send them an invoice of what it's going to cost. Now I'm creating a work order for my staff. Hey, they want 100 shirts. I'm creating the mock-ups actually myself. I have a software that we use that tells us type of printing it's going to be. I create that work order. It goes to the guy who does production. And now from them, it's on him.
Okay.
But it's like I'm dealing with the customer the whole time.
Yeah, you're front facing.
I'm front facing. So that's like an all day thing, bro.
Okay.
I can be dealing with someone at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Jeez.
Sometimes. Like,
Jeez.
And that's my benefit. Like sometimes I'll get those calls at 10:30 and be like, well, I'll go to the client and they'll be like, yo, I won't lie, you're the only person who answers the phone. Like I called like 11 places and you're the only one who answers the phone. So like at this stage of my business, I kind of have the realization, I was like, yeah, I'm not big enough where I can just turn my phone off at 9 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Sorry, we're closed. Like, nah.
Fair.
I'm with whatever.
So, okay. So your operations, can we go through the different, cause I know there's 3 of you in the business.
For sure.
So you have production with the guy that does, sorry, what's his name? Sorry. Cream.
Yeah.
He does the screen printing and he handles all like the orders and stuff like that.
Correct.
And the other one, his name, sorry?
My partner, his name's Cash.
So
he's logistics. So when it comes to, I get an order, we got to get blanks. We got to get materials. We got to get ink. We got to get screens, whatever it is. His job is to be like, I'm like, yo, we just got like 4 orders. We got to pick up here. We got to pick up there. We're going to need to get ink from here. We're going to need to get it there. Also, there's like 4 orders that are done that need to get quality controlled and checked and packed.
And he'll do all that stuff.
That's his job, right?
That's a lot
He's
too.
on the road. He's going from downtown to Vaughan to Brampton to Mississauga. And then we also got 2 bookings tonight for the photo studio. So you got to clean it. You got to prep it. You got to make sure we have fresh rolls. You got to make sure the bathroom is prepped. You got to make sure the key's in the lockbox. So anything logistics, that's his job.
Geez. Okay. Your operations, Cream is productions, Cash is logistics. Is there any room for more like heavy hitter type jobs in this type of business?
Definitely, but I think like you gotta grow at your own pace.
Fair,
right? Because like we can hire people, but then that's taking away from our bottom line of the day. So are we able to manage it right now? Yeah, we can manage it. We can outsource stuff if it gets too busy, if we need to. But I think that like when you try to grow too fast, like
so when you skip steps and
when you skip steps, like people always ask me, you can open another location? I'm like, I just opened this one. Like I gotta like give me like 5-10 years to like really
know everything, know
the ins and outs, what can go wrong in year 3, 4. So I'm not shocked with 2 businesses at the same time, right? So we're just trying to like grow. We're growing fast, but I don't want to do anything like before it's time.
Fair. And you also have your 9-to-5 still?
Yeah. So I still do work for the city of Toronto. I want to go into like crazy detail.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, but I still do work for the city of Toronto while doing all of this, right? So it's a challenge, but we're having this conversation off camera that people had this idea that you got to like quit your job right away. You want to open a business, quit your job, go 100%. There's both sides of the argument, right? There's people that are going to say you got to quit, you got to go 100% business. And there's some people who would say like, yo, bro, if you can manage your 9-to-5 and have something on the side that you're able to run, do it until you feel like you can't do it anymore. Or you might just forever be able to do it that way. It's really like up to you and what you're able to manage, right? But I don't think you necessarily have to give up stable income from any source, because like you got to have, especially if you're living in Toronto, you got to have multiple sources of income if you want to live comfortable.
And you have family.
And yeah, if you have a family, if you have people to provide for, especially, it's like, yo, bro, my business can be doing amazing. But if I find like enjoyment, especially, and like I'm fulfilled by what I'm doing, like doing like community work still, I'll still continue to do that while running this business until I feel like I don't want to.
Fair. So for people that are watching that are obviously thinking about, starting their own thing, your advice would be, still keep your 9 to 5. Like that is still good to have, that steady income. Because
or it doesn't even have to be a 9 to 5. You could just, I would say, just focus on having multiple streams of income, whatever that looks like.
Okay.
That might be you're washing cars. That might be you're washing cars because it's going to be guaranteed money, and then you're operating your barbershop. But the washing the cars, what's funding your barbershop for now until your barbershop's operating at a space where you don't need to wash cars.
Fair.
Or maybe if you just like washing cars, you do that on the side too, just a second stream of income.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're driving Uber and then you're also running a nail salon. But if you can manage both and both those incomes are helping you live your life, don't feel shame and the fact that you do multiple things, because most business owners, even billionaires and millionaires, they don't just have that one company. They
100%.
might. There's people who are multi-millionaires who are owners of a company and then they're employees of another company, right? So you might be a Joe Rogan, who's an owner of the most hugest podcast in the world, but he's an employee of Spotify, right? Technically, right? You can call him a partner or whatever you want to call it, but he's still working underneath somebody else because there's value in doing that.
Okay, cool. So with this type of business model, what are ways that you can scale?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for us, what we're learning is when we're doing multiple things at the same time, you got to see what's working the best and doubling down on that. So if we see, all right, everything is doing cool, but the clothing side of it is really taking off, I would say double down on that, invest in more equipment, invest on more marketing dollars. So I think the short answer is test everything, see what works the best, double down, invest on, and find ways where you can lower costs and increase profits.
So has there any of these disciplinaries that you've started with, has any of them you kind of let them go?
I would say the recording studio side of it more, in theory it was really cool, but when I got to the nitty gritty of it, I'm do I really want to have a bunch of rap niggas here all the time? Do I really want to deal with
the energy?
That energy and what that comes with? I'm nah. So now when we're doing recording and we're teaching the art of recording arts and engineering, it'll be more on the nonprofit side.
Fair.
For people we hand select, rather than having a bunch of random energy and rappers and what comes with that we kind of put on the back burner on the for-profit side and focus it on the nonprofit side. So there's this thing is still steadily evolving. If you told me when I started it, I'm gonna have multiple hair salons here, I'm not talking
because even when I got my hats done, you didn't have that then.
No. Yeah, so it changes, right? And that's what a business is. It's it's fluid. Things are gonna happen, things are gonna change. What you thought might be the most successful might be the least, and vice versa. And you gotta be aware, be in tune with what's working and what's not working, and be willing to adjust and pivot accordingly,
Fair. So even just for an example, so when people are watching this, let's say you notice that the hair salons that you have are really booming, you like the income that it's bringing in, and let's say the event space is not doing so well. Would you plan an example of what you're talking about, how these things can change is let's say you brought more chairs in here for hair salons. That's something that you would kind of consider.
That's a perfect example, right? So if you see that if you have space, especially if I'm dealing with space, if I see all right, I have 1,000 square feet that's bringing in X amount of dollars a month because I'm watching with the money, right? Mm. And then I have 2 500 square foot rooms who are bringing in double that. Why not turn that 1,000 foot square face to another 500 square foot spaces that are making that same income? So you can't be afraid of all right, this is what I had in my head, so I'm gonna just keep trying until it works. Nah, if it's not working, switch it up. And I'm open to change. When someone's hey, I want to do you think I could rent this room for a hair salon? I'm yeah.
Try it out.
Would you be willing to convert your studio to a hair salon? Yeah, why not?
Fair.
If it's gonna make if it's gonna make money and it's a clientele that I don't have to manage, they're running their own business, have nothing to do with it. They're just paying me to utilize the space. That's actually a great business model for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to do shit. I don't have to do anything. They have their own thing going on. We're just offering a space at a good cost to them because we already got our own thing going on. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win situation. Those are the best kind of business deals,
Fair. So for the people that are thinking about doing similar things, How can they? First of all, is there? You said the government is looking for spaces like this, right?
Yeah, they're looking to invest in social enterprises for sure.
So, if you were to like, let's say, give someone that's very interested in this type of space,
Yeah.
how could they? What's another way that they can run their business in a unique way, so it's not exactly the same as Gallery 223?
My advice would tell people like you gotta find like what's called like your competitive advantage. So like when people ask me what's my competitive advantage, I'm a one-stop shop. You can come and do 5 different things here in one day if you want to. And another advantage that we have is we're a community. So a graphic designer might be here and meet like an established streetwear owner, and then they end up working together. Or a photographer is here and he meets someone who's making clothes in the back, and they always wanted to meet, and now so there's community. Your people like have met here, tons of people that have connected, and it's a place where you can like meet like-minded people and grow your brand, right? That's my competitive edge, and the fact that we have whatever things going on. So if someone said, yo, I want to run a space where there's a bunch of different things going on, I would say like, what are you passionate about? You got to answer that question first. I was passionate about podcasting and clothing and recording arts and events. So that's what I did. So I would say like, don't think that because I'm doing what I'm doing, it's going to work for you. Think about what are your passions. If your passions are playing soccer or content, let's say maybe your passion is, I love making content. All right. How can you create a content hub that people can access? What's it going to cost you? What would you charge per hour? Could you make money? If you crunch some numbers, like, you know what? Yeah, I could set up a few different rooms. They could have different looks, and I could offer services where people are, all right, that's a business idea. Can it work? Go look how much spaces cost. Try it. Save up first and last. Go get a space and try it.
And I think the most important part that I heard personally is the community aspect to what's going on here. So can you touch on that a little bit more, and how important is building community?
Yeah, I think that is what's gonna that's something that's gonna separate a business that just feels like cold.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Some businesses, especially like in these spaces, they just feel cold, and you can tell like they're in this to make money. When you come here, you get the vibe that like we're genuinely in this because we want to build a space where creatives can come and create dope shit. Even
like when I first came in here today, you were helping out. I'm not sure his name, the young boy, and with his clothing brand. And I was just that's what I do. I observe. I observe body language, energy, and I could just tell that he was so invested in your advice, and that showed me that community is like real here. And I could already tell like it's important. For the couple times I've come here, like people have come to talk to you, ask for advice, and I think that is what kind of like separates Gallery 223 from a lot of other spaces, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think like that's the value, right? And like it goes both ways. I get value too, because as much as like I'm helping that kid out with advice on how to like approach his clothing line, he's not going to go out. If he becomes more successful, he's not going to come back to me with bigger orders. If he grows, I grow, right? Yeah. That's the way I look at it. If my clients grow, then we grow. If I give someone shit advice that doesn't serve them, they're not going to come back to me because they're not going to make any money. So like, I want to help people because I was that same kid with a clothing line. Mm-hmm. So like, I feel a personal responsibility, and B, like, it's like an ecosystem, right? The more you give, the more it comes back. And I really believe in it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've done a lot of community work.
For sure.
You've dabbled in the music industry.
For sure.
You opened up your own business.
Yep.
Family life is there.
Yep, for sure.
When it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
That's a good question. I think I want to be remembered as somebody who like at least attempted or gave his all to like put his efforts towards something positive.
I like that.
That had impact on people's lives in one way or another. And attempted to create like opportunities for others, whether it be like employment so they can feed their family, or skill sets that they can take and go start their own thing with. I want to be remembered as someone who tried to like do something honest. Do you know what I mean? Like to make an honest living, and try to find a way to make an honest living doing something that serves people other than myself, because that's in essence, that's what we're trying to do with this space, right? It's bigger than us. It's not
hard work.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely hard work. and a lot goes into it. But it's rewarding when you see like people that leave here that now have like viable businesses, you know, and
That's amazing.
they learn those skill sets here. Like to me, that's worth more than like the money. Like if I'm being honest, like legacy is important to me for sure.
Amazing. Okay, so for the next two questions, I ask every guest that comes on the show.
All right.
And the first one, you don't gotta say any names.
All right, cool.
What is the best advice you receive, and what is the worst advice you receive?
Best advice I received, I'll say there's two key points. One I learned from my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that rules are guidelines. You don't have to follow them.
Ooh, elaborate on that.
Yeah, so I was always taught, like from a young age, like just because a rule is in place and you're taught that this is what should be done, like take that with a grain of salt. And like if you don't resonate with that rule and it's not going to cause you like legal trouble, then it's like you do what you feel best serves you or what aligns with you. You don't have to, like, rules are there to like as a guideline. They're there so to keep people in check. But you don't have to live
Like
your
the
life.
Bible.
You don't have to live your life like a fucking robot following those rules, man. Like do what you gotta do.
Fair.
Do what you gotta do, and you know, go. There's gray areas. Figure it out. You know what I mean? And people who live in those gray areas are people that do the best in society.
Fair.
Like every business owner will tell you a story. Like, yeah, bro. Like I told them I had $1,000 when I had 100, but I had to say that just to get to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that would just walk in there and be like, "Sorry, I don't meet your requirements. I'm not ready for the opportunity."
And that's
yet.
it.
And then they just trick themselves out of a position where someone else might say like, "Hey, we're willing to give you like $100,000. Do you have a space?" And they'll be like, "No." I'll be like, "Yeah, I got a space. Of course I do." And we'll figure it out later, right? So that's kind of always been my attitude. Another good piece of advice I got was from my homie Gavin Shepard, who is one of the founders of the Remix Project. He told me in an interview I actually did with him that something that really stuck with me is that everyone that you see that's doing something is acting like they know what they're doing, but really everyone's just figuring out as they go.
Trust me.
Everyone's just figuring out as they go. So the people that look the most well like put together, you think like, yo, this guy has all figured out, man. If you really like go into their psyche, it's like, bro, I'm just figuring shit out as I go.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who can act like they have it figured out and can get into those rooms and present well, that make people want to work with them because they seem like they're really well put together, that can convince people they got it figured out and be front facing like that, let us get to the next level.
100%.
Where if you're just like, I don't know, I don't think I can do that. And there's someone else who's going to be like, oh, of course I've been doing that for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they get in that position, they just figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Right. So like everyone acts like they have it figured out. The most established people are acting like they have it figured out. Elon Musk, whoever you want to say, every day they're just figuring out a new problem.
Fair.
Right. So that's the good side. I'd say some of the worst advice I got, or the worst piece of advice I got, probably was like wait. So like wait till you have it. Wait till you have everything in order before you go do something.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people told me that. Like when I said I'm gonna operate this space, people are like, yo, you're gonna open a space in the midst of COVID when people are not allowed to go into a space. And I'm like, yeah, I'll weather that storm. Like I feel I can get a good deal on a lease right now because no one's trying to get into a space because spaces are prohibited. So it's actually an opportunity for me. That's 100%. How I saw it, right?
And procrastination has such a strong hold on a lot of people. They don't even realize it, bro.
Yeah, bro. Because like, let's say I would have waited another 2 years, right, to start my business. I've had this space now for 2 years. All the shit I learned in the last 2 years is worth more than any preparation could have possibly been worth. Like that 2 years of dealing with thousands of different personalities and situations and taxes and accountants and so much variable and changing staff and whatever we went through, there's so much value in just hitting the ground running and figuring shit out. So like the longer you wait, you're just tricking yourself out of like knowledge and like figuring shit out. So like just do it now, do it today, because that is the worst fucking advice. When people say like, take your time, don't start yet, like no, fuck that, just go.
I like that because I'm a person that I've had many ideas and I didn't think twice. I tried them out. And if they didn't work, it didn't work, and I was on to the next, and it is what it is.
And but that's why you end up in a position where you're like, you're doing the things you love to do, because the people who are gonna make it are the people who are gonna try shit. Ideas are fucking useless.
Exactly.
Like I don't give a fuck about a good idea. Like think about how many people had the idea of a car before the car came out.
Mhm.
A million people probably had the fucking idea of, all right, we should make a fucking car. Someone took the fucking effort to figure out how to construct the fucking car, how to mass produce it, and those are the ones who count.
Yeah.
Everyone has ideas, bro. Like, I'm sure I'm not the first person who had the idea, have a space like this,
Mhm.
but are you willing to do what it takes to execute that idea? Like, the execution of the idea is the hard part. Having an idea is like so fucking what?
And just to talk about ideas, I'm sure, because I get this a lot, and I'm sure you do as well. I get so many DMs or, yo, I have this idea. They're like, what do you think about this? Da, da, da. And I'm like, here's my thing. And this is where I'm at. And it's not like, it's not coming from a place of ego.
Mm-hmm.
It's not coming from a place of, I think I'm better than anyone. It's that I like to work with people that kind of already have their own thing going on. But when you're just presenting this idea and it's coming from nowhere and there's no proof of anything, I tend to push those away.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Because you have to value your time. So like, as much as like we get DMs every day from like, of course, we're in a creative space, right? Yo, bro, I have this like idea for this clothing line, and I think it's gonna look like this, and I'm kind of thinking like these 10 different ideas, and can you walk me through like how much each different thing would cost? And I'm like, bro, as much as I would love to help you out, you kind of got to do your own research. So you kind of got to, before you approach like someone like me who's producing these things, you got to at least be at the point where like, here's like
The framework.
here's like my framework. Here's what I want it to look like. If I did this, what would it cost? I can answer that question, no problem. And I can guide you from there. But just from the idea standpoint, I can't tell you if something's a good idea with no proof of concept, when you haven't took enough time to do the research of like different print methods. Like, these are all Googleable things.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to put in some effort. If you want me to give my time, put some effort and meet me halfway.
100%.
I like those kids that are like, hey bro, I've been looking into DTG versus DTF. Here's the research I found. Like, what's your advice based on this design?
Mhm.
Cool, let's talk.
100%.
Right? Because you're taking yourself seriously, and like, those are the people who you want to give your time to, because time is so valuable, bro. You can't, as much as I would love to, you can't have that conversation with every single person
You
who
don't have
hasn't,
time.
if you haven't put the time in to get to the place to educate yourself.
Yeah.
These are things that YouTube can figure out.
Yeah.
Right? You could have just done the question you asked me is literally one Google search.
Yeah.
So like, I don't respect that.
Fair.
Even though like, not like, you got to be more resourceful. You know what I mean? Before you expect someone to invest in you.
100%. And the last question on the show, I like to make predictions. So I want to play this 5 years from now. And I'm like, yo, Rich said he was going to do that.
All right.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years from now, I'm sure this actual space will change. I'll probably have different businesses operating out of this space. Who knows what this room might look like? You never
I love
fucking
that.
know.
I love that.
And in 5 years, I would hope that there's multiple businesses that came out of people accessing this space. So more print shops, more people who have their own event spaces or clothing lines, whatever it may be. And in 5 years' time, I would hope to be thinking about a second location,
Okay.
planning a second location.
I have an idea that I just thought about.
Sure.
Would you entertain the idea of either hosting workshops for people looking for event spaces like this? Because I feel like that could be profitable.
So like, explain how that would work.
Like, for example, I look at you as an expert in knowing how to run these type of event spaces, multidisciplinary
Yeah.
spaces. And I feel that you have enough value where I can pay X amount of dollars to get the information from you in a more detailed orientation. I feel like you could teach that in either a workshop, whether it's courses, whether it's stuff like that. What do you think about that?
So I've kind of dabbled with that more on the clothing side. So sometimes people will be like, yo, I want just like the complete knowledge
Rundown.
of like how to start a clothing line, from like graphic design, kind of files I need, how do I manufacture. Like, they might want to sit with me for a few hours, and those kind of people, I'll be like, all right, I'll do a consultation like at a fee, but it's gonna sit that, like, if I charge you whatever I charge you per hour,
Yeah,
it's gonna save you thousands and thousands of dollars of doing it the wrong way,
100%.
because I've done it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I know this, all the steps you're about to make and take, and who you're about to contact, and like, I can save you a lot of time if you want the full like game, like from start to finish, from packaging to producing to methods to marketing to everything. I can give you that. But I don't necessarily know if I can teach somebody how to run a space like this because it's such a unique thing, bro.
But
like
I wouldn't even say maybe not teaching them how to run it, as in like how you run it,
yeah,
but like just the logistics in getting it, like pointing them to like, okay, look, the government's kind of giving this away, or like, okay, this space, look for the, when you're looking for a space, look for these type of certain things, or you know, like just to like get them off the ground. I think that's valuable.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I don't know. I don't know if I'm an expert yet, bro. Like, to be honest, you know, I feel like, bro, I'm day by day just learning.
Okay,
shit.
so let me
just like anybody else, to be honest with you, bro.
Let me give you a perspective.
Yeah.
Sometimes, this is what I've said this before. It's like sometimes, like in our own fields, we feel like, because we know how much work needs to be done to get like where we want to be, right?
Yep.
But that's like, let's say that destination is letter Z, right? And someone starting from letter A is gonna see a lot. Even if you're at letter D, you can teach them B and C.
For sure.
So that's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah, for sure. I think like I definitely have value. I know I have value.
Because
like,
even from this conversation, my wheels are turning.
Thank you, bro. I think I have value for sure. Just like, do I have all the answers? No. I'm still
Just anyone.
No, for sure. But like, I'm still super in the midst of it, right?
Okay, that's
like
fair.
I'm only in year 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
So to be
that's
like,
fair.
hey, let me tell you, I'm an expert at doing this shit. It's like, bro, you've been doing it for 2 years. People who've been running businesses for 30 years.
Fair.
That's an expert to me, right? To me, I'm someone who's just ambitious and resourceful, right? So I just did a lot of Google searching, a lot of YouTubing.
And you can't really teach that either.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. My real skill set in all this is I'm resourceful.
Yeah.
I'll find out how to get things done by just being relentless about finding information. That's like my biggest skill set. So in theory, like, you could do the exact same thing, but you have to be willing to like be a resourceful human being. And if you're not like that by nature, it probably is not going to work for you. Do you know what I mean?
Fair.
So it's like, you kind of have to have that personality. Cause I feel like the reason I'm kind of hesitant to even like to agree with it is because I feel like the people who are going to be successful are not necessarily going to need someone to tell them. They're going to just figure it out. And I'd be willing to give like free game for sure. But I can't tell you like, bro,
the intricate stuff.
This is working for me because it's working for me. There's so many different factors. To duplicate it, not saying like only I can do it, but this is such like a unique business model. Like if someone said how to like run a print shop, that's like more specific. I can kind of give you some good game based on that. Or how to run an event space, but how to do it all at the same time with you and build a team that works.
Yeah.
Bro, that's
and
God.
to be honest,
that's God, man.
Even when you say that, like I'm thinking about now is like you basically built this off your passions as a young adult, as a child. Like these are all just things coming out as you get older.
Exactly.
So that's really unique to who you are as a person.
Yeah, for sure. So anyone who approached me and said, I want to do the same thing, I'd beg you, bro. If you're not passionate about these things, do not attempt it.
Fair.
Because anyone will tell you who owns a business, you got to do things you're passionate about or else it won't work.
100%.
And people will smell that. Like people can smell it on you if you're not passionate about your business. When they're talking to you, the way you talk about your business, the way you deal with customers. Like people who open storefronts or open businesses because they think it's going to be profitable, those like 90% of the time, those don't work. People who open something because like if you open a salon because you love doing hair, there's a high chance that's going to work. And if you have business like acumen and you have like, and you're driven with that passion, then like you're gonna work. It's gonna work.
Fair.
Right? But I think it's got to start with like, I love this shit. Like I love doing this shit. Like these are shit. All these things were things I did for free.
Yeah.
For many years. Just because I love doing it.
Yeah.
So that's like, I think that's the root of what makes this work. It's all things that I would do for no money.
Okay. Fair. I completely agree because it's super unique to who you are as a person. Well, actually, before we go,
sure.
Can you let people know how to contact you and where to contact you and that sort of thing?
For sure. So our Instagram is gallery223co, TikTok gallery223 Toronto. You can hit me up. My Instagram is Rich Noir, RICHNOIR, or shoot us an email, info@gallery223.ca, and gallery223store.com is our website. So that's the best place to see all the services we offer, how they work, how to submit a quote, all that good shit.
Okay. So Rich, honestly, I want to thank you for your time and obviously letting me use your space. This conversation was a long time coming, and I know we have some things in the works of a much deeper conversation that will be a big surprise for a lot of people.
Facts.
And I really want to get that done. I actually can't wait for that one, but I do want to thank you for your time today. Honestly, I feel like you've given a lot of advice so people could be, they can hear certain things and be like, whoa, I want to do something, or that planted a seed, because you gave a lot of game this episode. So ultimately, I want to thank you. Appreciate it. Honestly.
Love, man. Love. And likewise, before we end up, I want to just say, like, I appreciate you and your energy and like what you're doing, and like holding these conversations with people is like extremely important. Not only for other people to like gain value and to learn from people in different industries, but like you're creating a time capsule of Toronto right now, and people who are attempting to do businesses and figure out themselves. You're creating a time capsule they can look back to forever, which is important. There's value in that. And it's all like all the content I see you produce is rooted in like education and like value to others, right? So that's like a selfless thing. I'm a fan, and I'm a fan of the way you operate too, man. So
thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.